It is now almost impossible to fix your own car in your own driveway, and today I'm going to show you exactly how they pulled it off. You reach down, you pop the hood of a brand new 2026 truck, and you wait for that old familiar sight. The engine, the belts, the honest iron you can lay your hands on. But it isn't there. What you see instead is a wall of black plastic, a molded cover with tamper-proof screws, sealed boxes, and little digital locks sitting on top of parts you paid for but are not allowed to touch. This is the end of do-it-yourself, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step so you can see the trap for what it is. And here's the promise I want you to hold on to, because I am going to circle back to it more than once before we are done. By the end of this, you are going to see that they have left you with only two real choices, just two honest doors out of this thing, and I will name them both plain near the end so you know exactly what to do. My name is Earl, and for 40 years I have turned wrenches on diesel trucks, watching them take a good thing and ruin it. I am just an old diesel man, friend. I've got nothing to sell you, no dealership, no parts counter behind me, and no sponsor slipping me a check to say any of this. So let me be honest with you right up front, because I owe you that. Some of what these trucks do now is genuinely better. They start in the cold, they run cleaner, they last longer on the highway than the old rigs ever dreamed of. I am not here to tell you the past was perfect, but I am here to tell you that somewhere along the way they stopped building a machine you own and started building a machine you rent. And they did it on purpose, and it is costing you real money. Before we get into the meat of it, I have to ask you something, and it only takes a second. Only a small slice of the folks who watch these videos have actually hit that subscribe button. If you love the idea of owning your truck outright and keeping the right to fix what you paid for, that is all it takes. It is free, and you can change your mind anytime you please. It helps an old diesel man keep making these, sitting here telling you the things the dealership never will. So go on and tap it, and now let's get into it. Let me take you back to a truck you probably remember, the kind sitting in a lot of driveways 20 and 30 years ago. Say the little switch that rolls your window up and down goes bad. On an old Silverado, that was a nothing job. You drove down to the junkyard, you found the same truck, you pulled a switch out of it for $5, you snapped it into your door, and the window rolled up. Done. That switch was just a switch, friend. Metal, a spring, two wires. It did not know or care what truck it lived in. You could have taken that same switch and put it in your neighbor's truck, or your brother's, or one sitting in a field 3 states away, and it would have worked the very same. That was the whole beauty of the thing. A part was a part, and a man who could hold a screwdriver was a man who could fix his own machine. Now walk up to a new one and try the same thing. That new switch has a little digital serial number baked into it at the factory. When you plug it in, the main computer in the truck wakes up, scans that number, and checks it against a list the factory loaded in. If the number is not on the approved list, the computer folds its arms and locks the whole system down. And here is the part that will make your teeth grind. The switch works. It is a good part, but the truck refuses to let it work until a dealer plugs in a laptop and, in their words, blesses it. So a $5 junkyard fix becomes a tow, a service appointment, and an hour of labor at the counter. And that hour of labor at a dealership runs you $150, $200 an hour these days. They call it parts pairing. What it really does is kill the used parts market stone dead. Think about that for a second. That whole junkyard, acres of good parts, switches and modules and sensors that work just fine, all of it turned into scrap metal in the eyes of your truck because none of it carries the blessed serial number. They took a resource that saved working folks money for 100 years and made it worthless overnight, so that the only door left open is the one that leads to their new parts counter at full price. They don't build them like they used to, and that is the first way they get you. Now hold that thought, because that is only one of the 3 walls they have built, and I want you to keep count as we go. 3 walls, friend, each one taller than the last, and every one of them is the reason those 2 doors I promised you at the start matter so much. Because when a man is walled in on every side, the only thing that saves him is knowing exactly where the doors are. The second wall they call value engineering, but you and I can call it what it is, a blockade. Take a headlight bulb on a 1990 pickup, you pop the hood, you reach behind the light, you gave the old bulb a quarter turn, and 30 seconds later you had light. Try that today. On plenty of new trucks and cars, you have to pull the wheel well liner out, or drag the whole front grille off just to reach one bulb. On some German cars, they went further and deleted the transmission dipstick altogether, so you cannot even check your own fluid. It is a sealed box, and when a little sensor in there fails, they do not sell you the sensor. They sell you the whole transmission. On certain modern Ford Super Duty trucks, some repairs mean lifting the entire cab clean off the frame to get at what is underneath. A job that used to be a Saturday in the driveway is now a $4,000 labor bill that needs a $10,000 lift you do not own. You are not paying for the part. You are paying because they built the truck so only they can reach it. Let that sink in, friend. The part might cost $40. The whole bill is labor, and the labor is only that high because they buried the part behind a wall of their own making. Nobody engineers a truck that way by accident. When you have to pull a cab off a frame to change a part that used to sit right out in the open, that was a choice somebody made in a design room, and it was not made with your wallet in mind. You don't own it, you're just renting it. The third wall is the sneakiest, and it is the one folks fall into without ever knowing why. It is battery registration. Your battery dies, so you do the sensible thing. You drive to the parts store, you buy a good battery off the shelf for $200, you carry it home, and you put it in yourself like you have done your whole life, and the truck runs. For a couple weeks, but on a lot of BMWs and Fords, there is a battery management system, and it never got told a new battery went in. So the truck keeps charging like the old worn-out battery is still in there. The alternator overcharges your brand new battery, cooks it, and in a month or so, it is dead. You did nothing wrong, you bought a good battery. But the only way to make the truck recognize it is to pay the dealer to sit at a laptop and register it. $200 of good iron ruined because they put a lock on the simple act of changing a battery. And here's what gets me about that one. Changing a battery is the first job a father teaches a son, the first repair a young person ever does with their own two hands. It is how you learn you are capable. They took even that, the simplest job there is, and put a computer between you and it. So the little action I want to leave you with on this one is small, but it matters. Before you ever buy a truck, new or used, ask the salesman straight to his face whether you can put a battery in it yourself without paying to register it. Make him answer. If he hems and haws, you have learned everything you need to know about who really owns that truck. So who started all this and when? Let me give you a name, friend, because this did not fall out of the sky. It was John Deere, the tractor people, and they were the patient zero of this whole sickness. Picture a farmer. He paid $500,000 for a big green tractor. It is harvest. The weather is turning. Every hour of daylight is money in the ground, and a $50 sensor fails out in the field and shuts the whole machine down. Now this farmer, he is a capable man. He has the new sensor in his hand. He can swap it in 10 minutes with the tools in his own toolbox. But the software will not recognize that new sensor until a Deere technician drives out from town with an approved laptop and unlocks it. So he stands there in his own field on his own tractor with the part in his hand, losing thousands of dollars an hour, waiting on somebody else's computer. That is not a story I made up. That happened to real farmers in real fields more times than anybody kept count. And these are not helpless people. These are men and women who rebuild engines in a barn with the wind blowing, who have kept machinery alive through droughts and blizzards their whole lives. To take a capable person like that and freeze them in place, with the fix right there in their hand, over a $50 part, that is the cruelty of the thing. That is the fight that lit the fuse, and around 2016 it started boiling over into the open, farmer by farmer, until it grew into something the whole country started paying attention to. The auto companies watched what Deere did, and they copied it. That is why your truck will drop into limp mode, crawling home at a walking pace, not because anything is truly broken, but because one sensor read a hair outside its range, and the computer decided you needed a service visit. Now I want to be fair and clear with you here, because I am not a man who sees a conspiracy behind every bush. Nobody sat in a dark room twirling a mustache. It is not a conspiracy, just money. Every one of these locks turns a repair you could do for free into a bill that lands in their register. That is the whole engine driving it. Follow the dollar and it all makes plain sense. A locked part is a repeat customer. A sealed box is a guaranteed sale. A limp mode is a service appointment they did not have to earn. Every wall I have shown you is just money wearing a different hat. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. And once they figured out they could lock the parts, they started reaching for the features too. This is where it gets truly shameless. Not long ago, BMW tried charging people about $18 a month to turn on the heated seats. Not to install them, mind you. The seats were already in the car, the heating element already built into the cushion under your legs. You paid for it when you bought the car. They just put a toll booth on it and wanted a monthly fee to let you use what you already owned. Now, to their credit, folks howled about it and they backed off that one. Toyota went and put a subscription on Remote Start, the little button on your key fob, so the thing in your pocket you already bought would only keep working if you kept paying. You own the seat, you own the fob, but they built a switch they can flip from 1,000 miles away, like Netflix, turning your own truck's features on and off from a screen you will never see. That, friend, is the whole game laid bare. And you know what the worst part is? Once they have taught the truck to take orders from a screen far away, there is no end to what they can charge for. Today it is heated seats and remote start. Tomorrow it is the extra horsepower they left locked in the engine, or the towing package, or the good headlights, all of it built right into the truck sitting in your driveway, all of it waiting behind a monthly fee. You will have paid for the whole machine and be allowed to use only the parts you keep renting back. You don't own it, you're just renting it. So is the driveway mechanic dead and buried? Not yet, but I will tell you honest, he has been driven underground. Farmers are buying jailbreak firmware from overseas just to keep their own tractors running through harvest. Independent mechanics, the good ones in the little shops on the edge of town, are buying bootleg diagnostic software under the table just to keep serving their neighbors the way they always have. And plenty of good folks have simply decided they will keep a 20-year-old truck alive at any cost, rebuilding it, hunting parts, doing whatever it takes, because they would rather nurse honest iron than sign up to rent a computer on wheels. Whatever you do, don't hand them the last thing you still control and walk into a dealership believing a new truck will set you free. It will not. It will make you a tenant. Because that is the verdict, and I want you to hear it flat. You buy a brand new 2026 vehicle today, and in the ways that matter, you do not own it. You are the primary user of a corporate data collection device that happens to have wheels. They control the software. They control the parts. They control who is allowed to repair it and what it costs. You hold the title, you make the payment, but they hold the keys to the machine. Buy the iron, not the computer. Now here is where I have been leading you this whole time. I told you at the start there are only two real doors out of this room, and it is time I named them both, plain and simple, so you can walk through them. The first door is right to repair. This is not some fringe idea, friend. This is a real and growing movement with real teeth. States have taken it up. Massachusetts fought a hard public battle over it and won an automated right to repair law at the ballot box. The farmers pushed Deere so hard that in 2023 the company signed a formal agreement with the American Farm Bureau promising better access to tools and parts. Even the Federal Trade Commission, the government's own watchdog, put out a report back in 2021 they titled Nixing the Fix, and in it they said plainly that these repair restrictions mostly are not justified. So this is your first action, and you can do it this week. Find out if your own state has a right to repair bill and tell your representative you back it. That is a phone call that costs you nothing but 10 minutes, and it is the single biggest lever an ordinary man has. You might think one call does not matter, but I promise you it does. These laws pass or die by a handful of letters and phone calls from regular folks who took the time. The big companies have whole teams of lawyers paid to fight this in the State House. What they do not have is you and 10,000 more like you picking up the phone. That is the one thing money cannot buy them, and it is the one thing you can give for free. The second door is the one you can walk through this weekend, and it is the one I love best. Buy an older analog vehicle you actually own. Go find a truck from an era where a switch is just a switch, where you pop the hood and you see an engine, not a wall of plastic. Something simple enough that the parts store part just works when you bolt it on. Where a battery is a battery and a bulb is a bulb. You do not need to be rich to do this, and you do not need to be a master mechanic either. Start smaller if you like. Go buy yourself a $20 code scanner, the little kind that plugs in under the dash, so that the next time the light comes on, you can read what your own truck is telling you instead of being marched to a counter and told whatever they please. $20, friend. That is your entry ticket to standing on your own 2 feet again. And whatever you do, don't let anybody tell you that you are too old or too far behind to learn this. I have taught men in their 70s to read a code off that little scanner and change the part themselves, and watch them stand up straighter for it. The knowledge is not locked away from you, only the new trucks are. Find an older one, get the scanner, and the whole world of fixing your own machine opens back up just like it was. And if you have been driving a new one and feeling a little foolish for not seeing all this sooner, let me lift that off your shoulders right now. It is not your fault. They engineered it to be invisible. They spent millions making sure you would not notice the walls going up until you were already boxed in. No honest man could have seen every one of these tricks coming. So you carry no shame here. You just know better now, and knowing is where it turns around. Because at the end of the day, this is not really about switches and bulbs and batteries. It is about who you are when you stand in your own driveway. The old ways were built to be fixed by the man who owned them. What they would rather do is rent it back to you a little every month forever. But you get to say no to that. A man who can fix his own machine answers to nobody, and that is a kind of freedom they cannot sell you and cannot take back, because you build it yourself with a wrench and a little knowing. You are the owner, not a tenant in your own truck. That is the whole thing right there. Buy the iron, not the computer, and the rest takes care of itself. So let me ask you two things, and I would truly like to hear your answer down in the comments. First, what is the oldest vehicle you have ever kept running, and how many miles did you put on it? And second, would you buy a brand new truck today knowing everything I just told you? Or would you go hunt down something older and simpler instead? Tell me. I read them. Keep that old iron running, and don't let them sell you a truck you can't fix. I'll see you in the next one. And before you go, I will leave you with this. Next time I am going to show you the one used truck, a specific year and a specific engine that I believe is the last truly honest diesel they ever built before all these locks came down, the one I would buy tomorrow with my own money. You are not going to want to miss which one it is.